The Rangers are in on other free agents. Do they have some surprises up their sleeves? There are those who believe they do. We talk about that and so much more as we get you started now on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. For a Rangers rotation, and as we say hello to you on this Friday, we wonder if there might be others to consider. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. John Radigan here with the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Rads with J-Dub. Jeff Wilson is still in Colorado, and Jeff, it's great to have you back. We appreciate you joining us, and what are you doing today? You guys going to go out and have some fun, go skiing, go snowmobiling, what?
No, we're going to go and do some rock climbing indoors, though. We don't have the equipment to do it outdoors or the ability to do it outdoors. Just something that the kids can do. And, that's what it's all about, keeping the kids busy. And so,
absolutely.
Go grab some dinner and, just hang out with some family that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, so we see the chat's already started. They're coming in. We appreciate you, Holly. We appreciate you, Steve. Keep them coming and hang out with us for the next hour. Enjoy your lunch with us. We got TC over here. Now, TC and I go way back to our days at the Ticket, so it's awesome to be reunited with TC. And, Jeff, TC, actually back in the day, he wrote a theme song for me. Oh. For me and Followell. For a while, Mark Followell and I were doing a show together fairly regularly during Dry Dock, and there's a theme song which he thinks is in his email. We're going to play it someday. It's actually to the tune.
I want you to sing it now.
It's to the tune of Friends. So
okay.
It's pretty cool. Okay. Remember that show?
I do.
Yeah. So awesome. It's great. It's great that you're able to do the vacation thing and still hang out with us and talk baseball. So here's what I was talking about with, are there some surprises up the Rangers' sleeves? I don't know who the our competition is, so I don't want to mention them until I know they're wrong. But some of the people who I think are our competition, other podcasts out there, were on the machine today. This one saying the Rangers are in on a number of people. Pete Alonso, the one that was most interesting to me, and that one seems unlikely to me. The one that was most interesting to me, though, was that they're in on Corbin Burns. And the thing that I love about it, whether those two things are true or not, and we might reveal who said them after they become not true. However, the thing I love about it is that the Rangers, again, like, you just feel like they're a team that's always in. That's what they established in 21 and 22. And then last year when they did nothing, it seemed like the pundits and certainly local fans were like, yeah, same old Rangers, But I think Chris Young is making a statement to say, look, the same old Rangers is the Rangers that were there in 21 and 22 and the season in 23. 23's season wasn't the aberration. Last year's season was the aberration. I just love that's out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's nice to be in those circles again. It happened after the World Series years. Obviously, it happened in 22 after they surprised in 21 with Seager and Simeon and Gray and Cole Calhoun. Can't forget Cole. But anyway, I've seen the stuff, and I know who you're talking about saying it. And he said it publicly, so I don't think it's a bad thing. And he used to subscribe to my Rangers Today newsletter, so we're buddies. It's John Heyman who has mentioned it both times. Burns and Alonso, while a position player and a pitcher, share something in common, and that's Scott Boras.
Yes.
And so I don't know what I'm not insinuating anything about John, but those national guys all have a pipeline straight to Mr. Boras, and so it wouldn't surprise me if Scott were trying to expand the market for both of those guys. It seems like the Giants are also in on both of those guys. So I don't think it's correct. I really don't. But this offseason has been full of surprises. I mean, we entered it thinking that the Rangers were broke and weren't going to be able to spend any money. And then at the winter meeting, son of a gun, they tried to sign Max Fried and almost pulled it off. So, that's a $27 million player. Burns is probably going to be more, I would think, though he and Fried are the same age. Alonso, I just don't see it as a fit, frankly, with the moves that the Rangers have made. If he could play left field, great, but he can't. So I don't see it coming to fruition, but when the Rangers are in these conversations, it's a good indication that they have spent some money and are thought to be contenders, honestly. And if we're being honest, you don't hear the Pirates come up in these conversations a lot. So, those are the good things. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, you don't. And you're exactly right. That does indicate that you're a contender, not just for the services of these people, but that you have become a contender year in and year out. And that's what I love that Chris Young has tried to establish here, right? Once again, that the on the field, 24 was the aberration. You can expect the Rangers to look more like the team that took the field in 23 year in and year out. Does that mean they're going to win the World Series every year? Of course not. You can't win the World Series every year. And in fact, apparently, you can't win the World Series in back-to-back years. It's no longer possible. We've gone damn near an entire, what is this called, a millennium, right? It hasn't happened since 2000. So,
right.
Again, it's a short sample, but it's still pretty amazing. And, if the Rangers are the team that's able to pull it off, that's great. But the point is, he just wants this team to be in that world, in that realm, year in and year out. And it appears that this offseason is a good indication that that's where they're headed.
Yeah, and the Rangers haven't made any huge financial outlays, and Eovaldi for $25 million is pretty big, but the way they chopped it up, it's not that terrible this year. We're talking about these three relievers they've signed for less than $5 million apiece, and Berger was a trade and just a smart trade because of how much control he has left. And so, Higashioka was not a huge outlay, although some people thought it might have been a little more than he deserved. But the fact of the matter is, Peterson might be the one that's kind of opened some eyes when it looked like the Rangers might be done and might be out of money. Well, they're just going to sign this guy for 17 and a half. I don't know what the math is, 18 and a half. That's still not official. We talked about it yesterday, the holidays and just coming in to get a physical and all that jazz. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen until next week, like late next week after the first. So,
or even the following week, the week that starts with what, the 5th or 6th, whatever that is.
Yeah. But the point is that, so that's 18 per and 25 per. That's really only 43 million. That's still not, that's just infringing on possibly Pete Alonso's market and Corbin Burns's market. So, and that's not like, I don't know. They're busy, but I know that they're huge spenders, but whatever it is, they're back in the rumor mill.
Yeah. It seems, I'm with you. It seems very unlikely. And now we will call Heyman out when he's wrong, but so it is, right? That's what we have to do. Yeah. I think he is at some level competition. Maybe he follows us, we follow him. So we're friends too, in some ways. We're always friends with our competition in this business, or almost always. There are a few exceptions, but we're almost always friends with our competition. It's a friendly competition. All right. Yesterday we talked about the lineup, and how we thought the bullpen would shake out. And again, we acknowledged yesterday, and we'll say it again today. There's no closer with among the bullpen arms out there right now. The Rangers need a closer yet, and we believe they'll get one. But let's talk today, Jeff, about the rotation. And obviously, it doesn't necessarily have to go in this order, but the way I thought it might look this season would be Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, John Gray, Kumar Rocker, and either Tyler Mahle or Dane Dunning. Thoughts?
Yeah, I saw that, and those could be the five. The 6 or the 7. I'd put Cody Bradford in that mix too. I mean, as a starter last year, he was really, really good, and Bruce Bochy loves him. Mike Maddox loves him. That's not. Let's not forget about Cody. He'd be a left-hander.
That's the thing. Yeah.
In a right-handed only rotation.
Yeah.
But and as we've talked about, the order doesn't really matter really after the first time. Who's going to be opening day starter? Okay, great. Line it up after the way you want it from there. I would think though that as we've talked about, some of these guys are going to be short on innings, so you're going to have to figure out a way to do that. Do you have a guy that's going to go short, followed by a guy that's going to go long, short, long? Try to save that bullpen, at least those multi-inning guys, as much as possible. I mean, it doesn't always work, obviously, because the guy who's supposed to be long may go short, and the guy who's supposed to go short may just breeze through 5 innings or 6 innings and get a 6th. So it's Mike Maddox. I'm sure he's worked on it. I know how he operates. He's always working on his spring schedule and how they want things to line up for opening day and everything. And then, a guy gets hurt and son of a gun, or he skips a start or gets shut down for 3 or 4 days, like what happened with deGrom at spring training 23. He still made the opening day start, so, but it's a juggling act. But those names that you presented are probably the guys, I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. And the wild card would be Roki Sasaki if they were to get him. And really, I think that's the only starter they're after. I just don't, if Corbin Burns falls in their lap like 1 year and $30 million, something like that, sure. But so let's say they don't get Sasaki, and these are our guys that you're looking at. That's not bad. I would suspect Mahle is in the rotation just because of his salary would command it, and they really like the guy. They really think he's good, and so it could come down to Rocker and how many innings he's able to perform this season. Would it be a Rocker Bradford piggyback, something like that, or a Mahle Dunning piggyback? There just are some things to really weigh here, but the names are correct.
Yeah, it's a great point.
The order TBD. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great point because if you are going to mix Cody Bradford in, you want to mix that left-hander probably in between two of the right-handers who do very similar things, right? So, you're probably going to want to put him in at that spot just to keep the opposing, batters just more off balance, if you will.
Yeah, I would break up Gray and Eovaldi, for instance. It's not fair to Gray or whoever's next to see similar velocity. I know Evaldi's big off-speed pitch and Gray's a big off-speed pitch are different, but still, I think it would be kind of a similar look, at least fastball-wise. So, split them up with somebody. Mahle doesn't throw as hard. Off-speed pitch, I think, is the best one's a curveball. So, be a little different, but yeah, they're like you don't want back-to-back soft-throwing lefties, for instance, and so you'll see it all come out in the wash, but it's just a matter of taking those names that we have listed and figuring out how to juggle them.
Yep. It's all part of the process for Bruce Bochy, for Mike Maddox, as they continue to get ready for spring training. That date draws closer and closer each day, which is exciting for us. Actually, Jeff, today here in DFW, it feels like spring training weather.
Oh,
Sunny
really?
and 70. It's beautiful out there. I even shed my shacket, Jeff, because it's so warm. So coming up next on this, what is it, 2 days after Christmas, everybody gets the games, right? You get a game at Christmas, first thing you do is play it. And we feel like we need to continue that game playing mode with you. We'd like you to play along with us. We've got a little game, this guy or that guy, as it comes to Rangers off-season acquisitions over the years. That's coming next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Empire, Jeff.
Oh, I forgot I was going first. Sorry. Oh, and then plus I didn't get the screen, the little screen that helps.
Oh, you never saw it?
I never saw the screen.
Dang
Anywho, we are, Ben, who's usually in the chat, he loves floors, and so do we, especially when they're from Empire Today. Let's not bury the lead here. EmpireToday.com/DLLS for $350 off. You get shop at home convenience with Empire Today, the right product for you, and you get pros who are helping you, not somebody like at the big box store who just sold some copper wiring to somebody or some wood or whatever it is. You get carpet, flooring, linoleum, probably even experts. The virtual floor designer, great way to see how the new floors will look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DLLS for details.
Oh, we loved Empire Today, and what time is it? Game time. Yeah, that's Ab's bit, and we love her too. And Game Time's great. I utilized it, as I mentioned, going to see a play the week before Christmas. Fantastic. Everything about it worked beautifully. And Game Time, we've got some more big news coming with Game Time really soon. We're really excited about our partnership with them, in part because they're such a great app. They're so easy to use. You can see from the pictures we've shown you on the screen. You can see the seat that you're going to pick. There's a guarantee. You won't feel, if the event gets canceled, you won't have to lose your money. There's so many great things about this app, including the price. Really good prices on the Game Time app. So go to GameTime.com. First purchase, you get 10% off. Game Time with the code DLLS. All right. Play a little game, Jeff, and we want our chat people to play along. We're going to run through some of these off seasons, and we'll argue about and debate and decide who was the best when we compare one guy who's somewhat similar to the other guy in off-season acquisitions. What it points out, Jeff, this game, is that the Rangers really have had some amazing acquisitions in the off-season. Going back quite a ways, at least going back to the year 2000 and really beyond that. So let's start, I guess, chronologically with the one that happened the longest time ago in 1988, at least the one in this game. In 1988, you had Nolan Ryan acquired in the offseason. And in 2022, you had Jacob deGrom acquired in the offseason. Jeff, which one was bigger?
Well, Nolan, with Jacob getting an incomplete grade at this point, Nolan pitched for 5 years, achieved the two huge milestones, the 5,000 strikeouts and the 7th no-hitter. Also the 6th no-hitter. I don't want to leave that one out, but and what the signing did, and T.R. Sullivan has written this for my old website, Rangers Today, and you can go there and read it too. Nolan, he brought legitimacy to the franchise. He put butts in the seats. You got to keep in mind, the Rangers, for most of their existence, were a fledgling club. Attendance-wise, some of their owners, when they did try to spend, they got in trouble. And had to sell. really even the division winning teams. And then the Tom Hicks era where he spent like mad, and we all know how that turned out for him, at least. But anytime you can sign a guy like Nolan, even though they thought it was only going to be for like a year or two, it's like, holy crap, this is a team. It's not unlike what we just talked about, John. When the Rangers make a big signing like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, all of a sudden, holy cow, they're in the market for everybody. So it was a big deal. Tom Grieve pulled that one off. Nolan was a free agent and left the Astros. So that might have also kind of hurt the other team, although they were in different leagues at the time and never played each other. But I'd say Nolan over Jacob right now.
Yeah, I think you'd have to give Nolan the nod at this point. To your point, though, let's see what happens in the rest of this Jacob deGrom era, if you will, because obviously if they go on to win a World Series or two, or win a back-to-back World Series or something like that, it may nudge Jacob ahead of Nolan for all that Nolan did to create legitimacy. I did like B. Rich's comment on the deal, too. It wasn't just Nolan in that offseason. They got Julio Franco. They got Rafael Palmeiro. They got Jamie Moyer. It was a really good offseason for the Rangers, and it kind of propelled them into, like you say, Jeff, some real legitimacy and some eyeballs that really began to look at the Rangers. So here's a good one. And as we flip over the next card, Jeff, we actually go back even further than Nolan. In 73 in the offseason, the Rangers got Fergie Jenkins. And let's compare him. Who was bigger, him or Nathan Eovaldi in 22?
Well, both didn't stay long, or haven't been there long. Fergie didn't pitch for the Rangers for a long, long time. Nathan is going to end up, if he fulfills the terms of his contract, 5 years. Fergie has the best season ever by a Rangers pitcher.
Yeah,
I think that's you look at the numbers, and of course it was a different era, but finished second in the Cy Young, outlandish amount of like 28 or 29 complete games, more than 20 victories. Should have won the Cy Young, really. I think Catfish Hunter won it that year. And that was like the first good Rangers team, and really the only good Rangers team for a long time in 74. So, but man, what Eovaldi did in the postseason in 23, Nathan Eovaldi probably is not going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ferguson Jenkins is, but man, I'm going to go with Eovaldi on this one.
Yeah, it's a tough decision too, just because again, at that point in the Rangers' history, they really did. Fergie and at that time, Billy Martin was the manager. So there was legitimacy brought to them then. And like you mentioned, Jeff, neither of those two men stayed for very long. So that legitimacy waned in the later 70s, certainly. But that was big at the time for the Rangers to get those guys. And 25 wins is 25 wins. Fergie's still proud of that. And you're right. Nathan Eovaldi's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but like Fergie lives here now. And I had a chance. I saw him at the winter meetings, had a chance to chat with him. And he was there kind of repping the Cubs, right? Fergie went into the Hall as a Cub. I wonder, along those lines, if Nathan Eovaldi finishes out his career here, having played for quite a few teams, who does Nathan go to the winter meetings and rep? Or if he went into the Hall of Fame, would he go in after this stretch as a Ranger?
I think him being at home or closer to home means a lot to him. His family is here now. He won the World Series with the Red Sox. Wasn't as integral part of the Red Sox title run as he was with the Rangers. But yeah, it would be. I think if he finishes this 5 years and these are 3 good seasons for the Rangers, I would think that he would think very fondly of his time with the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. And it's interesting because again, Nolan did go in as a Ranger, and he pitched for a bunch of teams, and only the last 5 or 6 was here in Texas. So, very interesting thought about what Nathan would do or who he would rep, even if he's not in the Hall of Fame. Here's the next one as we flip over the next card. Who was bigger, 2000, Alex Rodriguez, or 2021, Corey Seager?
Oh, geez.
The tough one.
A-Rod won an MVP.
Yeah.
The deal was revolutionary across all sports, but those teams are god awful. Corey Seager, he's gone to and won the World Series, was the World Series MVP, would have won the MVP if not for Shohei Ohtani. So I think this is Corey Seager.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to give it to Seager in that case, just based on, again, the World Series, but also he's like an MVP caliber player every day. He's so steady. He's so calm. He's a leader by example in the clubhouse. And I'm not sure A-Rod had, especially at that younger age that he was at. It was his first free agent contract. I'm not sure he had those leadership tendencies. In fact, there may have been some division that he helped create in the clubhouse and certainly was there when he left. So I would have to give the nod to Corey Seager in that one, too. All right, I like this one a lot, and it goes back to the MVP thing again. 2007, Josh Hamilton, or in 21, Marcus Semien?
Another... I would go with Hamilton. I really would. He was an MVP candidate every year. In 2008, he was an MVP candidate. 9, he was injured, but still had really good numbers. 10, won the MVP. 11, almost won the World Series for the Rangers. 10, he was the ALCS MVP, and was really the best player in baseball. 12, it didn't end well, but by God, it started out unbelievably, and he still hit 42 homers that season. He had the 4-homer game, came back, was part of a playoff team. Josh Hamilton is my answer. I know what Marcus Semien did in games 4 and 5 of the World Series, and he had a great 2023, but give me Hamilton.
Yeah, and I like, Rarities is already agreeing. I love all of you chat people playing along with us. And I think when Milton Bradley, not the former Ranger, the game company, I think when Milton Bradley invented this game, Jeff, they wanted to make it so that the World Series guys didn't win all of the rounds of this game. So clearly, Josh Hamilton, it was unbelievable what he did. And by the way, he did win the World Series for the Rangers. It's just that they lost it again, right, in the bottom of the 11th or 10th or whatever the heck that was. So, yeah, he did what you do to win the World Series, and so it's too bad that thing ended the way it did. All right, one more here. This is front office, and we're wondering, in 2008, the Rangers got a president named Nolan Ryan. And in 2020, they got a general manager who has since become a president named Chris Young. Which one's bigger, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to go with Chris Young because he won the World Series. Nolan Ryan, though, brought some instant credibility to the Rangers at a time when, keep in mind, John Daniels was 33 at the time, still a young guy. The Rangers were coming off a really bad season, and they were in a rebuild mode. And Nolan brought credibility. I think one thing, though, that is blown out of proportion is Nolan wasn't on the phone with Scott Boras banging out contracts. John Daniels was.
Right.
But, Nolan did reshape, though, kind of the pitching philosophy. He added toughness to the rotation. He was willing to experiment with guys like C.J. Wilson and Alexi Ogando, who were pretty good starters there for a while. And so that those were his strengths, what he did for the club. But Chris Young won a World Series, and he did give a big tip of a cap to John Daniels, because Daniels was in on those contracts for really Seager, Semien, DeGrom, Gray, Evaldi. Also, the drafts that produced Josh Young and Evan Carter. Those were all under John Daniels. So, but I'm going to give CY the nod there.
Yeah, I might quibble with you on that one. I might give it to Nolan there, just because, again, you got them to that World Series. And I get it. He didn't do it alone, but CY will tell you he didn't do it alone either, and he'll still tell you that. So it's always a team effort in the front office too. But again, it's a really close one, and you can make an argument for each case, and that's what makes games like this fun. And really, there was an ulterior motive. I mostly did that, Jeff, so that anybody watching the pod today could see I can do a game show. So just so you know, who's bigger, right? I mean, that kind of thing, Jeff. I mean, I got game show host in me.
I think you do. I think you could be the next Wink Martindale.
You see there? You see?
What are your chances?
Damn it, if only Jeff had a game show that he could put me on. So that's something I've always thought I want. I think Ralph Strangis, our old buddy from the Stars broadcast, same thing. He and I used to talk about that. Love to do a game show. Probably not going to happen at this stage for either one of us. But, hey, a fella can dream, can't he? Up next, we're going to chat about the American League West. Let's talk about the West. Let's talk about what these other teams have done or haven't done thus far, and where do the Rangers rank at this moment. It's coming next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
Am I good to go, John?
Yeah, it's you first again.
All right. Hey, it sounds like what you said. It's bright and sunny outside.
It is. Yep.
Colorado, it's really bright, and I don't know if it's because we're a little bit closer to the sun than everybody else, but both states are perfect for shady rays. Mm-hmm. They're durable, lightweight, bunch of different colors to match Rangers or whoever your favorite team is, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And if you're going to go to spring training, another sunny place is Arizona. You're going to want those shady rays. I think ball players would want the shady rays to help them catch all those dang fly balls that are so hard to track down there. So, look, if you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair. You can return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com and use DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses.
Yeah, that's a fantastic deal and very much worth it, no doubt about that. We also want to alert you, in case you haven't seen the show lately or haven't noticed it on our other shows, but we got a new sponsor, fairly new sponsor, called Saturday Neon. This is fantastic stuff. It would look great right behind us here or on any shelf in any man cave, any room where you watch your sports. I think it would be so cool. Saturday Neon makes neon signs. They're accredited with 50 different colleges and universities, which includes most of the big boys. So you could get one made for your favorite team. Get it made quickly for bowl season or for the continuation of the college football playoff. It might be fun to show your fandom in a very special way. These are LED lights, not the old-fashioned neon that could explode at any second. So you should absolutely check this out. Saturday Neon, use the code DLLS for 10% off Saturday Neon. All right, so, Jeff, let's talk about the rest of the division, and we'll go in alphabetical order, which means we get to start with the manager, who I guess at this juncture would be our second favorite in the American League West, and that's Ron Washington's team, the Angels in Anaheim. They've actually, they jumped right into the fray with our old friend Perry Manazian, as the general manager there. They jumped right into the fray and got busy this offseason.
They did. The catcher Travis d'Arnaud, that was a big deal. You say Kikuchi, another big one that really kind of helped set the market for pitchers in that tier. And they're not going to be great in this season, you don't think, although Wash thinks they'll probably win it. But they have a young core group of people that they're trying to turn into major leaguers. Seanwell at first, and the young shortstop Neto, however you want to say it, whichever way I'm saying, I'm sure is wrong. And they have some young starting pitchers, so that's why they got Kyle Hendricks, who's a veteran guy who's going to at least show these kids the ropes. So they're going to be better. They have another year of experience, which Wash was harping on, and so those experiences they gained last year aren't going to jump up and bite them in the butt this year. They'll have an answer, or a quicker answer than they have. So I think that the Angels will still finish lower half. There's only 5 teams. I don't think they're a winner or a second place team. I'd say outside chance, distant chance at third, but they won't lose 99 games again.
No, they won't. And the thing that, Wash said to us when we sat down with him at the winter meetings, he said, I'd be ready to go to war with these guys I got right now. And I felt like that was almost an implication to us, like, we're probably not going to do a whole lot more, which they really haven't. And that's fine for Wash. He emphasized, he doubled down, tripled down on how much those young guys learned from him last year, right? It's different. His style is different. It's old school. It's demanding. And at first, I think some of these guys weren't accustomed to it and weren't really willing or able in their own minds to accept it. But I believe Wash got total buy-in. He believes he got total buy-in.
Yeah, and you never know till, whether he gets an extension or isn't extended or retires, which I don't see happening. Little things here and there leak out, but the younger teams are more likely to buy into a manager's way. He said he had trouble with the 2007 Rangers because they had some veterans on the team, notably Mark Teixeira, who I think was a fly in the ointment, the Wash ointment there. So these young guys don't have a choice but to buy in. But there's energy there. The coaches are out there coaching. They're not just talking the talk. Wash, he said he ceded some of the infield stuff to Ryan Goins, who went to Dallas Baptist. But Wash is there watching him and will hop in and, keep in mind, Wash, God bless him, is going to be 72 this year, I think.
Yeah.
He still has the energy, but sometimes the body is probably just going to say, hey, Wash, why don't we take a day off? But Angels, they'll be better. They won't be great, but they'll be better.
All right, Astros, the perennial team to beat in the American League West, at least for the last 8 or 10 years. No word on Bregman yet. It seems very likely that they're going to lose him. Of course, they got Christian Walker. Of course, they traded Kyle Tucker. What do we think about what the Astros have done? And I think we believe this is the very beginning, if not maybe well into the beginning of the end of the Astros dynasty.
Well, the trade of Tucker produced Isaac Paredes, the corner infielder, third baseman, who did so well a few years ago with the Rays, and really murders the Rangers. So that's a problem. But the infield's been reshaped. You're still going to have Altuve at second, Pena at shortstop, although that hasn't been as good as it was his rookie year. And then Alvarez is so good. They still have Yordan or Framber Valdez for 1 year. They do have some pitching issues. They have guys who are coming off of injuries who they need to come back and be really good. Brown looks like he's going to be a good pitcher going forward. The Spencer Arrighetti had a nice little second half once he got his chance. And they still have Josh Hader. They still haven't gotten rid of Ryan Presley yet. So their bullpen, if they get to a game late with a lead, is going to be tough. But it does look like the window's closing a little bit with them trading away a guy who's terrific, and is going to command a lot of money in free agency. And Tucker, they clearly thought that they wouldn't be able to re-sign him. And I just wonder what their thoughts will be on Framber. Framber, when he's good, is really, really good. He's throwing multiple no-hitters in his career. He almost no-hit the Rangers this year. he's a heck of a pitcher. So things are changing, and of course, the thing that nobody talks about is, at least nationally, is their farm system is just awful. So I don't know that once these guys once they reach free agency or whatever, their contracts expire, the Astros don't seem to be in a position where they're going to want to go above and beyond to keep these guys. And so when that happens too many times and you don't have the people to replace them, you're going to start to struggle.
Yeah, no doubt. We've reported here before that the owner will not go. He did once, but he doesn't want to go above a 5-year contract. And in this day and age in baseball, if you're going to get the top free agents, you might have to go twice that long on a contract. Yeah.
Absolutely. We saw the unicorn in Soto with the 15-year deal, but Bregman is trying to get an 8-year deal. So where's Corbin Burns? That's just kind of the way things shape up these days. And you look at the Braves. They have a lot of guys signed for more than 5 years. The Dodgers, of course, have given out some pretty big deals over the years. So it's that's the name of the game, and really 38 is the age. You don't want to go past 38, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher. Don't go beyond 38. So if that means a 30-year-old and you give him 8 years, okay, but don't give him 9. There are ways around it. But something's gonna happen with that club eventually, I would think.
Active offseason thus far for the Athletics. First and foremost, they moved from Oakland to Sacramento. But then, Jeff, it's not very often that we see them signing anyone in the free agent market. And we know of a couple they've signed, Severino foremost among them. And we know of a couple that they tried to sign that said, "Nah, I don't want to play in Sacramento." So they're active.
Yeah, money talks, and it's going to sway some guys. It didn't sway Walker Buehler, for instance, but they are trying to spend more money. They are trying to, when you're going to a new market, and I know it's a few years away, you don't want to take a 100-loss team. When you go to a new place, there's going to be initial excitement, but it's going to wear off if you're no good. So they're kind of putting a foundation in place here. They do have good young players. We've mentioned. I think Lawrence Butler is a really, really good player. Can do a little bit of everything. They have the power hitters. They have they have a good catching tandem potentially with Langoliers and Soderstrom. Langoliers, who just destroys the Rangers, from Keller and Baylor. So there are signs, I guess, that maybe the A's are committed to winning beyond what they have been, at least. But again, they're going to be in a Sacramento minor league town, minor league ballpark. It's got to be a lot of money to get a guy to go there. And Severino got a ton of money.
Yeah, he did. He got plenty of money, obviously enough to attract him, because he could have gone a lot of different places. Maybe not for that much money, but that's what the market was bearing this year. The last one to talk about, because we all know what the Rangers have done and what a great offseason they have had. But the last one is the Seattle Mariners. And they don't seem to still have a lot of money. And I know a lot of that has been at least blamed on their TV situation over the years, which continues, apparently continues to plague them.
Well, they've been, especially for Jerry Dipoto, they've been eerily quiet. There just hasn't been. He'll make little trades that you're like, oh, that doesn't seem to make a mountain of difference, but it ends up making a big difference. They have holes offensively, and that's something that we say every year about the Mariners, and the pitching staff is phenomenal, and with Logan Gilbert and George Kirby and Luis Castillo, they think they might be able to trade to get something to help them with the bat. That's how much pitching they have. They feel like they can trade a guy as good as Luis Castillo, who they traded a ton for. So, Julio Rodriguez is great. Cal Raleigh, terrific defensive catcher, hits for power, not necessarily for average. But then it's like, all right, is Luke Raley, is that going to excite you? Mitch Haniger, who's always hurt, and is now a part-time player. You just don't look at that lineup and like, holy crap, they're going to score 10 runs a game. They're not. And they could move the fences in 300 feet and it wouldn't make any difference. The Mariners just aren't going to hit. So you see them still linked a little bit to Pete Alonso. That was kind of the one that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you don't want to go into the eighth inning without a lead. That's for sure, because the Mariners are going to shut the game down. Really,
no doubt
if you don't score early, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they didn't need to do anything to the pitching staff really, because they are stout really at the rotation and in the bullpen. So they're set there, and that's one of the reasons they need to, if they can, supplement it and get that offense going better. They hope that putting Edgar Martinez in a more defined role as the leader of their hitting, their hitting department, if you will, and then Kevin Seitzer in as their hitting coach will be big enough acquisitions in the offseason to make that offense go this year. But I think what we've decided clearly there in this past segment is that the Rangers won the offseason in the American League West. And does that mean they'll win the American League West? I don't think we can quite go there yet, Jeff. A lot of baseball to be played.
Yeah, you don't want to win the offseason.
Yeah.
You want to win the season.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. That's the next step, right? Look, that's that. That's the American League West as we see it thus far. And obviously any one of those teams can still do more, and we'll update it if they do. Next, it's our cleanup segment, and there is a guy who was in the World Series who will have a new team next year. We'll tell you who as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast. As we've talked about, I'm in Colorado, so I'm gonna write only if it is necessary. But when I do write, it's generally behind our paywall, which means it's for diehard members only. And you guys need to become diehards. $79.99 a year. Do the math. That's a little under $7 a month. Plus, you get a free T-shirt, not just this year, every year. So you're really paying only about $45 when you subtract the cost of the T-shirt. It's a great deal, and it's not just Rangers. It's Cowboys, Mavs, who have a lot of news on their hands, and the Stars. And if you want the best coverage of any outlet in the Metroplex, this is your place. DLLS, go get you a diehard membership. Yeah, and get you that free T-shirt. You might opt for this one. I really like this one that I'm wearing today, the Dallas skyline there. And
I've got one on too, John.
DLLs. What do you got, Jeff? Stand up a little. Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. So I don't know. I think this might just be the generic. Jeff's is part of the baseball series. We've got hockey, basketball, football, and baseball, plus a few of these that are just, sort of DLLS series. And the other one I haven't worn yet is the gray one with kind of the skyline and a horseshoe. So anyway, these are great shirts. They're very comfortable. They're soft. They wash well. They wear well. They don't shrink. They don't fade. They don't seem to. And so we really encourage you to go there, get the merch. There's other things on there too. I got my son-in-law a gift from there with some, just some glasses to use to put your beer or your drinks in or whatever. So anyway, we love their merch. It's ALLCITYNetwork.com. It's store.allcitynetwork.com to get your merchandise of DLLS. All right, time to clean this thing up a little bit, Jeff, as we run through what else is going on in the world of baseball. And, it's not unusual to not have a whole heck of a lot of activity the day of, the day after, even 2 days after Christmas. But we do have a signing today, and that is Gleyber Torres has signed a $15 million deal, one-year deal, to go be the second baseman for the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because he didn't want to play third for the Yankees. They were asking him to play third base, and he didn't want to. So he has traded New York and the opportunity to play for a World Series pretty much every year, honestly. to join a pesky upstart Tigers team. So it's gonna cause a shuffle. Colt Keith is going to play first base, which
Yeah.
really puts Spencer Torkelson's future in doubt. And that I wonder if this move isn't a reaction to them not being able to get Nathaniel Lowe, because a source had told me that the Tigers were interested in Lowe. The Rangers weren't sure what they were going to be able to squeeze out of him. I wonder if this isn't playing whatever plan they're on for first base. If getting a second baseman wasn't a reaction to their inability to acquire Nathaniel Lowe.
Yeah, pretty amazing what the first base market has been like this offseason. And obviously the Tigers were another one. Again, Torkelson, I think you may have been on that trip too, Jeff. I happened to be there when he debuted for the Tigers a few years ago, and he was the second coming. It was just going to be the greatest thing. He was such a great prospect, and he just hasn't ever developed into that. And, it doesn't mean he won't, but it also, means, at least in the short term, it looks like that he won't do it as a first baseman, right? They'll find another place for him to play or another opportunity for him to play and see if he can do it somewhere else. Now, the word is, this doesn't mean that they're out of the sweepstakes, if you will, for Bregman, which is very interesting. But I wonder, one of their thoughts about the future for them at third base is a friend of a friend, if you will, Jace Young, who's a really well thought of prospect and who, of course, made his debut last year. So I don't know, does that take them out of the market for Bregman?
Yeah, I think as long as AJ Hinch is going to be the manager, there's going to be that immediate tie-in, and maybe AJ has made the case, and but if Bregman is looking for $200 million, that might be a little beyond the Tigers' comfort zone. You always see these. Deals and teams that have made deals, the Javier Baez deals. I just wonder if the Tigers are gun shy or a little shy to pull the trigger on another big deal, or at least maybe they want to wait till that one's paid down a little bit more, and maybe they just have to find a place for Baez. And I know they've tried to do it, but by gosh, that's just a disaster. And anyway, I don't know if that's going to affect the Bregman market or not. I still think the Red Sox make way too much sense.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing because when you sort of, read and generally when you read it on MLB.com, it's one of the Detroit writers who's writing it, right? It's somebody local, and they were writing about this move and the logjam of players, of infielders, and then didn't mention in that logjam Javi Baez because, again, they just basically the Tigers would really like to, most teams can't afford to, but just pay them to go away,
Right. Yeah, some teams can, but the Tigers aren't one of them.
No, they're definitely not one of them. So anyway, interesting. That's something that absolutely did happen today, and we'll be keeping an eye on the Bregman thing, of course, and let you know whenever that happens. Sasaki update. There isn't much today. Of course, we told you yesterday, and if you missed the show yesterday, the Rangers did meet with Roki Sasaki and his people. We assume that it happened in Los Angeles, where most of the teams were meeting with them. Jeff actually asked, CY and Ross Fenstermaker whether or not they had met on, I guess it was Monday the 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, and they confirmed it. And Jeff, I think the big takeaway that we talked about yesterday is the Sasaki camp has narrowed this down tremendously, and the Rangers are still in the conversation.
Yeah. So the two New York teams, the Rangers, the Cubs apparently have met with them. The Giants are suspected to have met with them, and the assumption is that the Padres and the Dodgers will meet with them. And so you look at all those clubs. The Mets have a Japanese player, Corey Seager. The Yankees are without, but they had Matsui, they had Ichiro, they had Tanaka, they have experience with Japanese players. You go to the Rangers, Darvish, but people keep forgetting it's not just Darvish. They've signed others, a lot of relievers. I don't know if people remember Kaz Fukumori back in 2008. He was one, and really they had the closer who was in the Chris Young trade with the Padres, Aki. I can't remember Asuna.
Okunora.
Oh yeah, there you go. Something like that. Anyway, so they've had their share of Japanese players and have done their homework. And you look at the Giants. Their history. I'm a little foggy on it, honestly. I don't know if they've had any Japanese players. Maybe Nomo finished there. I don't remember. Then the Padres have Darvish, and Nomo works for their front office, and of course the Dodgers have Ohtani and Yamamoto. So there are reasons to ties that make sense to a lot of these teams. Really, money again isn't a factor. Money is a factor down the road. Right now, money is not a factor. So maybe that's why the big market teams are in there, because there's opportunities for him to be marketed and make money like Ohtani has made on endorsements and everything. So good farm systems for these clubs, I think, not god awful, although the Padres are pretty low rated right now. They have had their share of prospects that they've brought up. So it's kind of all what Sasaki apparently wants. Direct flights from Tokyo. Yes, you can get to all these places directly from Tokyo. Well, maybe not San Diego, but his family can catch an Uber and fly down from or ride down from LA. I don't know if there will be any more, but it's a small group, just as it was for Ohtani, and the Rangers are in it. And I'm not saying they're going to win it, but they're in it, and it's going to be pretty interesting. I really think that Chris Young is a big factor. And I think the ballpark, if he visits Globe Life Field, it's going to be a big factor.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, just based on what we heard from the agent when he spoke at the winter meetings. It could well be a small market team, which then, from everybody else we talked about, leaves San Diego and Texas, right? And I know Texas isn't small market, but it is compared to New York and Chicago and even San Francisco.
LA or New York
and LA, yeah, that's
1,
right.
2, 3.
Yeah,
San Francisco is not a small market.
No.
I would group the Rangers in there. The media pool is going to be a factor, apparently, based on some of the interactions that he had with the Japanese media. So I don't know. Nobody knows, really. I mean, but you can kind of look at each team and say, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be fun. That'll be another thing that we keep an eye on. One of the things we want to talk about coming up on a probably near future edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast is what the heck is going on with some of these starting pitchers who can't seem to find a job, guys who have pretty good pedigree. We'll talk about that on a future episode, and I think we're going to have lots more guests on over the course of the next month. Anyway, the month of January, Jeff, will be a fun month and a more challenging month to fill and have time, because the Rangers have been so active at this point. It's been easy and fun, but I think we'll have fun with guests and things like that in January.
Well, hopefully we can get whoever their closer is on. I saw something that the Diamondbacks are interested in Kirby Yates. I still think the Rangers are interested in him. I know they are interested in him. I still think they get a right-handed setup guy. Those are what I think will happen. And as for January, these guys do start coming to town. They start having the winter caravan, the fan fest. So we'll be able to interact with players and have some stuff to talk about. But the Rangers are pretty much done. They just need to sign a couple other things and book their Airbnbs and get their butts to Arizona.
Yeah, fantastic. Soon enough, they will be loading up the trucks for Arizona and spring training. So that's going to do it for today's edition and really this shortened week's edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. We have a 4-day week next week. The only day that we'll take off is actually New Year's Day. So we always appreciate you chatting along with us. Appreciate very much you joining us. I think we're here every day except that New Year's Day at noon next week. So we'll look forward to seeing you then on future editions of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.